Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 3 already of the Elite Golf Podcast. I'm Jesse Coffman, head golf professional here at the golf club at Champion Circle. Of course, you guys know Matt Christian from Elite Golf Performance. And today we have a special guest. We're excited to bring in Mr. David Cersley. He is a master club fitter, club designer, golf club engineer, has nearly 20 years experience doing so. We're going to really dive into that today. And let him go over things that's way above my head. I know Matt's got a little more experience with that. My experience is a little bit of club repair, and that's about it. So I'm interested to hear what you have to say today. So, if you don't mind, we'll kind of start it out, and I'll let you kind of give a little bit of your background and let the folks know what you've done.
Sure, yeah. Well, I'm honored to be here. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate you having me on. Jesse, pleasure to be here.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I wish you guys all the best, and to be part of this is an honor, no doubt. Yeah. So I got my break into golf, around 2002, and I was telling this story the other day to some kids, and I have 2 jobs. One of them is an application engineer with Go Engineer, and one of them is my own company called Sprocket Science. And so at Go Engineer, I teach schools, and one of the kids came in and was like, "Hey, Dave, I really want to be in this part of the field in my career." He said, "How did you get where you wanted to get?" And I said, "Well, I never gave up." And I spent, I was telling him, I said, "I bet I spent 150 to 300 resumes somewhere in there pursuing a career. I had a passion, I had a dream. I said, I was never going to let it go." Yeah. And I applied. I remember I applied to Callaway, putting on grips. I didn't care. I wanted my break. Man. And I said, somehow, some way, I'm going to get there. And I just felt like it was a destiny. It was something I was going to do, and I did it. And I got my break in 2002 working with Golfsmith International. We designed for Lynx and McGregor and a bunch of brands. And then, unfortunately, they're no longer around. But I got to meet.
It is unfortunate.
Sure. I had the great privilege of working with some amazing people on a small R&D team, and we just cranked out tons of product for tons of brands. And it was befriended Jeff Sheets, an industry veteran. He's got a ton of experience and a ton of clout in the industry, so to speak. And just became a great friendship. He was a mentor to me and took me under his wing and showed me everything and taught me everything. And then 2011, I decided to start my own business. And up until about a year and a half ago, I was doing that, and now I've kind of ventured onto something new with a company called Go Engineer, where I'm an application engineer, and I go around teaching and helping people with their engineering software and 3D printers, all that good stuff. So,
wow, it's impressive.
Yeah, we've known each other, I guess, since I think it was 2005.
I think so.
In that area. And, and it's really cool to see all you guys back there, because I always would hang out and listen. I was kind of like the golf nerd back there, just like, man, whatever. Yeah. And you and Jeff were talking. I'd just be kind of like that one ear in the corner over there, like, You may not think I'm listening, but I'm listening. Yeah. And it was really cool because it never really stopped with just the engineering parts. It was always about club fitting too. Mm-hmm. And I know you guys were you still are designers, and we'll go into that. I want to come back into a couple of things later about the putters, and and if whatever you can talk about on that would be great. But talk about club fitting, if you will. I have a background in that, but that's not what I want to go with. I want to go with because you being a club fitter, it's a little bit different, especially when you're like when you're an engineer and a club fitter, which you are. You gotta kind of get to see all these levels. I know one little conversation we had was about sound on drivers. Yeah. I remember, I'll never forget that. Yeah. I was like, what makes these drivers sound like aluminum bats now? Because remember that day, when the square heads came out, the Nike Sumo, I'm not whatever. But it sounded like, man, you'd hit one of them. If you had pine trees on both sides of the fairways, and you hit it, the acoustics would come back and hit you so far, and hard in the ears, would just rattle your brain. Yeah. And he said, man, it's all about the design of the design of the head. Mm-hmm. If you don't mind, if you just share your thoughts on. Oh,
absolutely. So as a club designer, we're always looking for the holy grail, something that goes perfectly straight and sounds perfect. And we can design just about anything. And you referenced the old square shaped drivers, and those things, you have to look at it as a sound chamber, right? And those square drivers were almost flat topped and flat soled, and the sides were just kind of tapered, right?
Yeah.
And they imagine that sound wave is in there, and it's hitting and it's resonating all around that sound chamber. Yeah. And we found out that the harder those edges were, obviously created a higher frequency sound, and all of a sudden it was this crazy high-pitched sound that would, make your ears bleed. However, it performed amazing, but it sounded so horrible that nobody would play it.
That's right.
And it's kind of like golf balls and putters go the same way too, right? Golfers associate feel with sound, right?
Yes.
And if it doesn't sound right, they're not going to play it. It might be the perfect ball, it might be the ball that they can score the most with. It might be the perfect putter, right? It's optimized to them, but if it doesn't sound right, they're going to think it's too clunky.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So, the shape, and then materials all matter.
Yeah,
carbon.
The big thing you told me about was materials. Had a big difference.
Start throwing carbon fiber on there. Some of the OEMs used first put those carbon fibers on crowns on there. It sounded clunky, like a cluck.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh man, but the performance was there, and there was a question of how do we get the sound right, and then that became of where do we add internal structures or ribbing to tighten up walls so that they didn't resonate. Imagine that ball's hitting and that crown is starting to flex, right? Well, that sound wave's now going all the way through that club at some point, right? Those walls are resonating, and we got to limit that resonation. And so what we did is you add ribs kind of internally all the way around. If you take a modern driver and you rip the crown off it all, not that you want to rip a $500 driver.
Where the well's at.
Yep, right on top. And you look down inside it, you'll see all kinds of unique structures over these ribs that looks like somebody just added all the way around the top and the crown and on the side walls, and it just helps tighten that sound and get it to a certain sound. Like if TaylorMade seems to have a unique sound, right?
Yeah.
A TaylorMade does not sound like a Titleist, and a Titleist doesn't sound like a Callaway.
Or a
Ping. They're all great products.
Yeah.
And they know, they're engineers, and they know, hey, this is our Ping sound. This is our Callaway sound, or whoever the company is.
So a lot of the like you're saying, the ridges and the different things inside the club head, that's more for sound than anything else?
Mostly for sound.
Wow.
Because if you didn't have those in there, to Matt's points, when we made a couple drivers, one of them was like triangular shape, right?
Okay.
And
I remember that.
we made one of them that was square. And the one that we made that was triangular, it was so hot that it was just going incredible distances. And we're like, we love to get this to market. Yeah. And we tried everything. I mean, we tried just some of the tricks that we would do is, and hopefully this doesn't make it sound too bad, but in through the hosel or in the bottom of the club, we'd drill a hole, or through the hosel of the driver, and we'd squirt glue and put a bore through in there, put glue up on the ground.
Yeah.
Try and put that glue being a fluid, kind of a flexible, like a silicone type material. It would sit there and adhere to the crown, but it would dampen it. And then we tried that. We tried squirting X amount of grams and drying them with the crown down so the glue would stick to the crown, or sitting it where the face is up and putting it in the back, or sitting it on 45s or 30s. And we just could never get this one driver to sound right. We tried everything.
But what type of sound did it have? I mean, was it
man, it just sounded like somebody went over and smacked a tin trash can with a baseball bat. That thing was awful. But the performance was there. We would go to the driving range and this is when we're still at Golfsmith, and people were bouncing it off that bat net consistently. We're like, we've got the performance. We just could never get the sound. I think that driver was called something like the Black Hawk. We tried. We even went to. We researched dampening materials that was used on high-end luxury jets. Mm-hmm. And tried to figure out a way to get that on the inside of the crown. Wow. And we tried everything. That's cool. We tried. I remember we were working with the foundry, and we said, "Hey, can you put ribs here? Can you do this?" And man, we were welding on that thing. That poor driver looked like a Frankenstein, and we still never got it right. But it was all due to the shape. And then we said, "Okay, let's just scrap this part of the club. We're gonna keep the face and the head and the hosel. We're just gonna shape this back differently." And then once we started shaping it differently, all of a sudden the sound came in, and then we're like, "Okay, here's the performance." And
what's your thoughts on the? I just would like to get on, and I'm sure you probably work with the company with the Callaway, the Epic, where they've got the stabilizers.
Yeah, the jailbreak.
Yeah, the jailbreak.
It's great technology. And
what's your thoughts on that?
I like it. What it does is tightens the crown to the sole, so you get less resonating of the crowns not going here, so more your energy is kind of staying up on the face. So you're transferring energy.
It's almost like not having a square head, but it has has the square effect as far as less torsion.
And it stabilizes the head, and it also helps with the sound as well. So
because it does have a good sound. I had it the other day at first time.
It's a great product, and it's well engineered, and that's technology has changed the way we do things. Yes. And I know we're kind of talking about technology here, but it's dramatically changed the way we design golf equipment. When I first got into it, there were still, we were starting to understand how 3D modeling, finite element analysis, impact analysis, all that affected the performance of the head. We're starting to understand it. And it used to be to get a set of irons to market was 18 months.
Yeah.
Because you went through the process of you used to shape brass masters, then you made blueprints, then you sent it off to the foundry, you waited 3, 4, 5 months, then you got your part back and you went, that's not right, let's make some changes, sent it back, and they went through that revision. And then finally, by the time you were ready to release it, was about 18 months. And I did a program for a customer, about a year and a half ago, 2 years, and in 6 months we had product on the market. So, it's just crazy. It was spot on. So, we're able to look and understand things now, not only from the engineering and the CAD and 3D modeling side, but 3D printing has changed it. Because now, I used to have to send this stuff off to a foundry, wait for it to come back, and then go, that's not right. And now, whether it's a major OEM or a small independent shop, you 3D print that model and you set it down, you put a shaft in it, and you go, you know what? I want to change this radius here. It's too sharp. And you can go back, change it on your CAD, 3D print that guy a couple hours later, maybe next day, depending on your, print shop or whether you do it internally. And then you look down and you go, okay, that's almost too much. So it's got to be somewhere between, and it could just be, 5 to 10 thou, make a huge difference on a putter.
Wow.
It could be that simple, right?
Yeah.
And that technology alone has dramatically changed the golf industry. Because now you're looking at shapes, right? And
what was the best factory? Because I know you went to a lot of different factories, and a lot of most people don't. Well, most people do know this that play golf. That most clubs are designed, they're designed here, and then they're manufactured overseas. And I know you went to a lot of the factories.
Oh yeah.
You don't mind to share some of your stories? I know.
Oh man, we had some good ones.
I know you got some good ones. So
some I'd probably have to get permission to repeat the story. No, I'm just kidding. No, we had great stories. It was a true blessing. I grew up on a farm in Virginia.
Yep.
You and I talked about our beginnings, and if you had told me as a guy growing up in a rural area, Kent Store, Virginia, by the way, and there's probably 10 people out there that know who that is. We're still.
I'm one of them.
Yeah,
I'm not.
You won't. You're gonna search for it. Even Google goes, "Are you sure?" No, I'm just. But it's a great place. It's where I grew up, and it's always home.
Yeah.
And if you had told me as a kid I was going to end up traveling the world, I'd have said no way. It's a story I can't even write. It's unfathomable. But so Jeff Sheets and I made numerous trips over to China. We saw the factories and some amazing factories, and we got to see like Shanghai and Tokyo factories, and just throughout China.
We were in Taiwan.
Let's see. We were in Taiwan once. Yes, one of our factories was in Taiwan. We had a customer in Vietnam. And a lot of the factories at one point in China were trying to move to Vietnam because the labor, of course, was cheaper. But the problem was they were having trouble finding the skilled laborers because the golf factories over there, they train people and they work, and then once they get them up to a certain skill set, it's keeping the employees, right? They don't always get to keep their employees. They have a ton of Chinese holidays, and next thing you know, you're rocking and rolling. All your polishers are ready. All your assemblers are ready. Production's gone. They go on a holiday, and 60% of the workforce comes back. And then they're trying to retrain. It was always crazy. We saw some amazing things, and then you saw some things that you just shake your head at. Like we went to this one chrome plating factory. And we're in this chrome plating factory, and we're looking around, and they're plating all these irons, and we're walking around, and one of the guys we were on the trip with, and we went over to this window, and there's this river, going right behind it, man. They're just pumping the wastewater right into all the chemicals right into this river. And I look down the river, down this way, and there's people fishing in it. And I'm like, oh, man.
Turn green, man.
Those six-eyed fish coming out or something, you know. And then we went to lunch, and we went just down the street, you know, like downstream, and we were at a fish market, and I was like,
I'm really not that hungry.
You know, and then, but the vendors always took care of us, and we got to see some amazing things. And seeing the factories, you get a whole new perspective. You know, there's some really amazing people when you, especially in the forging factories. You know, when you're talking, you know, you start hitting something with a
quality, right?
Oh yeah, you're talking about hitting something with a 500-ton press. You know, some of these ours would go through 7-step forging, so you're hitting it 500 ton, and then you hit 1,000 ton, then you hit 2,000, then you hit that 5,000 ton at the last. You know, you're squeezing those atoms into a perfect alignment. You know, and when that 5,000 ton goes off, man, you know it. You know, you hear it and you feel it. So
is that what gives it the butter, that softness, and that? Well, I mean,
yeah, a lot of that comes with the material and the heat treat.
Yeah.
But what you're trying to do is, you know, this thing starts as a billet, almost looks like just a straight rod.
Yeah.
And the first hit actually kinks it into an L.
Really?
And then they go over here and they start hitting it. And each one of those, they're starting to squeeze that shape. And all of a sudden you see a little more flashing come off. And so maybe some of these first hits, that thing might be 5%, 4%, 3%, 2%. And by the time it hits it that last time at the 5,000, they're removing, you're down to like 1% over now with technology coming in. And so now when they go to polishing, they're only removing about 1% of the final product. It's that accurate now. So the technology, again, it's affected not only designing, but for designing tools, you know.
Yeah.
And, so it's made a crazy difference on the quality of product. And now you're doing a little bit of polishing, a little bit of finishing, some paint filling, cut some grooves.
Yeah.
Throw your medallion in and you're done. So
how would you take, like, when you go, because I know the one thing that was cool about you guys, you and Jeff, was that you had a really strong club fitting background, equally as well as the design of the clubs, engineers. I mean, you don't see that very often. Usually you're just either a club fitter or you're an engineer. But you guys had both, and that was what was cool. So what made you through, like, when you were designing a club, if you had players coming out, because you guys had not only players coming out, you were teaching schools, I know, at Golfsmith, where club fitters were coming in to train with you guys and get things right. But what made, like, a product when you just said, okay, we're going to design this product this year, and we've seen this with our players? Was there anything you saw that you said that we needed to go this direction for the mass?
Yeah.
Or what we need to do? And I'll just kind of leave it at that. Like,
No, that's an amazing question. That could probably take us 6 years to answer, but I'll do my best to answer it.
Well, we got about an hour.
I'll do my best.
You might have 30 minutes with your family.
Yeah, if you start to see the building fall down, you know, my daughter.
If I see your kid,
she's somewhere here. So God bless her. She's awesome. It's a great question. So the cool part was we were looking at it, and as an engineer, I look at things from angles, right? And I see things very perpendicular, very parallel. And what was cool was with our staff, we had some people like Jeff saw things very organic, very flowing shape, right? But what we did was we were able to look at people fitting, and we could see the way they were using the equipment. Like, we had a vision for how it was going to work, right? But then when you actually put it in somebody's hand and you saw, sometimes it didn't work the way you wanted to. Let's be honest with you. Sometimes you just went, man. Like,
I understand.
We thought this was right, and you put it out there, and you just go, man, that was a dud. But
and then sometimes it's not always. That's why I call it theory.
You know, so what we looked at was, let's just say we're talking wedges and irons, right? One of the biggest things that we were constantly learning about was turf interaction and how people apply the club to the golf ball. How does it get through the turf, right? Bounce angle. I had a great privilege a couple of years ago of working with Ronnie McGraw. He's one of the great grinders and industry legends, right? And he's ground clubs. I think he told me one time that he had ground for Hogan, Nicklaus, Palmer, and like a couple other people. He's the only person on the planet I think has done that.
Yeah,
and
that doesn't suck.
And he would always talk about, Dave, that this leading edge has to be this. Because if it's not that, the club's going to stick in the turf. But when we got prototype samples, we'd have this leading edge radius, and we'd have it. Some of them sharper, some of them, a little more softer, a bigger radius.
Yep.
And it was amazing. All of a sudden, you started hitting it, and you could kind of start to feel like that club's digging down or sticking.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, some of them just felt like you were just kind of wiping it. Like, I didn't get anything out of it. And all of a sudden, you started to pay attention a little more to that leading edge radius. And that was always fascinating to me, is like how everybody was kind of applying, the club to the ball and how the club interacted with the turf. And, what we found was, some players really need more bounce, right?
For sure. You're going at it.
And some people need less bounce, right? Just depending on the way they swing, right?
Yep.
And the course conditions all factor into that. You're speaking your alley here. But as a designer, I would always look at it from what can I learn on this generation of product, and how do I apply that to the next generation of product? Okay, the customers are telling us the top line's too thick.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, everybody says that.
Or the toe radius is too sharp, And this being the top line across here, this thickness. Some people say, man, it's too thin. It's a great product. I love the performance of it. I just wish it was a little thicker and make me feel like it wasn't so hard to hit. Because some people would look down, they see that top line, and they go, oh, man, it's too thin. That's for a better player. And they just go right by it, even though they knew they could play it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So little things like that, or just try and pay attention to what the customer would give back to us when they tested prototypes. Some people didn't like the way this is the area, but this is the head of the club, and this is the hosel, and this little area here was called the par area. And I'm not sure why, because if you hit a golf ball in there, you ain't making par.
No, there's no par there.
The old shankaroo, right? And I've done it.
Our Pinnock used to say the lateral shot. He wouldn't say it. Make it sound better.
How we blend from the end of this hosel, transition here into this head, requires a ton of engineering surfacing in the CAD files. There's 8 to 10 surfaces in there easy. And trying to get them to flow so that it looks right. You put it down, and some people would say, oh man, it looks like there's too much offset. Yeah. Then you have to blend it certain ways. So then all of a sudden you get them the same group back, and you give them a bunch of prototypes now, and they look at it and they go, oh, okay, that's exactly what we're looking for.
Yeah,
It might have the same amount of offset as the other one, but because you blended it differently, they look at it and go, okay, that's the right look, and I want the right look. So, again, that's where technology comes into play, and that's where as an engineer, you have to be willing to. You have to be thick-skinned, as a club designer, because you're proud of what you do. You put your passion, you put your heart, you put your soul into it, and then the question is, somebody wants to scrap the whole thing, and you're just like, but I spent 3 months putting this whole set together, and then you have to say, okay, this is what the customer wants, and I'm gonna give the customer exactly what they want. I'll give them my feedback, and I'll help them out as much as I can, and then let's get this product right. This is what the customer wants. Let's get them what the
That's
customer
part of the
wants.
grinder in you. I know we're going to talk about the Ironman here in a little bit, and I think that's part of the grinder in you. But I'll hold off on that for a little bit. But I want to talk about the single link system, and I know you know it pretty well. You know it better than I know it. I've dabbled.
Okay.
And I was impressed. There was parts of it that I was impressed with, and I don't know, but I haven't. When you say dabbled, that's just like I haven't really got all the way in. I don't know enough about it. I know you do.
Yeah.
And if you don't mind, if you'll talk about that a little bit, because I think there's a lot of customers that may benefit, maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah. It's different, and I think golfers are slow to move with trend. Mm-hmm. Whether right or wrong. Let me back up and talk about the fact, Bobby Jones played a single link set. A lot of people don't know that.
No, I didn't know that.
Won some majors with a single link set. So people go, oh, wait, what? And so kind of learn things like that. But I look at like the transition from steel spikes to soft spikes and the modern shoe, right? But I remember I played golf with steel spikes, and I remember seeing those plastic spikes. I said, nobody going to wear those plastic spikes. You're going to slip, fall, and bust your tail first time you get on a set of steps. Now we all wear soft spikes because we realized it was the right thing to do. Will single link ever be there? I don't think so. Yeah. But I think it applies to a certain mass market, right? And as an instructor, you see the way that people swing different clubs because they're at different lengths, right? So you end up with a different. Sometimes you end up on a different plane. Some people end up with 14 different swing planes, right? Just a little length, right?
It's going all over the yard.
So driver might be down here for some, and then the wedge starts to get real steep up here.
No
And it might be inverted, reverse to that. Some people might have a driver up here and a wedge down here. Who knows? Lord only knows. But when the whole point of the single link system is you've got 7 or 8, 9, 10 irons, whatever your makeup is. They're all the exact same length. The heads are the same weight, and you optimize the CG in each one of them to...
That'd be the CG being the
center of gravity.
Center of gravity.
Yep. And so we move center of gravity around. You adjust, things like your offset and different things that we did. And so all of a sudden you've got one swing. You need to learn one swing, and you can swing all your irons off that one swing. Now, I have a set of single length irons. I've played them. They're different. They're unique, and it's a transition. And I think if you're new to the game, I think it's easier. You can pick it up easier.
Yep.
I remember being at the PGA show about 3 or 4 years ago, and single length was starting to make it out. Cobra, Edel Golf, and I think one, maybe 2 others had single length irons at the show. And I remember Greg Norman was on the PGA stage, and they were talking about new technology, and he was talking about, I know he's getting paid, so. But he made the statement, if I had started golf and had single length at a young age, I'd probably play single length. And he kind of stepped back, like, here's a guy's number 1 in the world for years. Because it makes sense to him. He's talking about the center of gravity being the same on the club, right? You got one swing plane, and then all of a sudden you're the same distance from the golf ball every single time, from your hands, your body CG to the club CG is the same every single time. And a lot of technology went into sets, and it's understanding how the shafts.
It's been out forever too.
It has. Yes, it has.
People don't realize this is not new. Like this has been out since
No,
the 80s,
this has been around a while, and I think, to be honest with you, I think now with CAD technology, and we can sit there and we can optimize each individual head in that set. We can now look at creating hollow body designs and moving internal weight chambers to optimize where we want the ball flight to be and the performance to be. Like on your longer irons, again, you got a shorter club, so you're saying, hey, it's a shorter club. I need to really get my mass and my center of gravity in a certain location to optimize launch conditions, right?
Yeah.
Whereas on your shorter clubs, when you start getting down to your wedges, because they're now the length of a 7-iron, I've got to manipulate the CG in this guy so that I don't have some pitching wedge that goes parallel or just balloons straight up. I got to optimize and figure out. So a lot of work.
That weight? Is that weight? Or
internal weights.
It is the height of the weight?
Where we located the weight and inside the CGs of the heads.
So higher weight would typically keep more down.
Yeah, bring it down. And then the lower the CG would increase the launch angle. So what we would do is, let's just say if you were looking at the center of gravities, it would be real low on a 3-iron over here, but it might be real high. Yeah. And this is an exaggeration. Right. And it might be up here for your pitching wedges.
Is that how you can take the lofts and decrease the, how the strength of the lofts, so a 45-degree wedge?
100%.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Right.
100%. But when we're talking about this, we're only talking a couple millimeter difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But a couple millimeters go a long way to a club designer. And sorry, my head went to something funny joke I can't repeat. But
you can't.
It's all right, man.
I don't know.
But so you have it makes a few difference. It's just like grams, and you might think that only two grams doesn't make a whole lot of difference.
Yeah.
But when we were designing drivers and we were trying to find the weight in the drivers, and we started getting into carbon crown, we started getting into magnesiums. All of a sudden, we were able to save. Hey, wait! I just saved 8 grams. And that's like a gold mine to a club design. I remember Jeff Sheets. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Really? Yep. There were certain type of magnesiums. Mag crown drivers were popular for a while, probably.
Just the harden effect?
Well, you could go super thin. It's a super hard. It's
light.
It's a super lightweight, super thin, and it's a strong material. So all of a sudden, we could get super thin. All of a sudden, we had a crown thickness of maybe. And this is exaggeration with my fingers, but let's say this was a 2 millimeter crown. Yeah. Now all of a sudden we're starting to get down to 1.1, 1.2 millimeters thick. And over the whole crown of that thing, you thin that guy out, and because of the density of the material, things like that, the physical properties of the material, we had a super hard crown, a material that was super lightweight, and all of a sudden it didn't affect the sound dramatically. It didn't make it sound tinny or clunky, and we were kind of like, okay, this works. And then we were able to put weight in the driver to optimize how we wanted that, a draw bias or a fade bias drivers, right? And then that really begat the whole movable weight system, because we were to save so much weight. What can I do with this 15 grams? And you'll remember this. First drivers, we had a draw bias, a neutral, and a fade bias.
Right.
Well, that weight was in a draw bias. The weight was in the heel side. We took that 8 grams and stuck it in the heel, so it moved the center of gravity real close to the shaft. And that thing, imagine that center of gravity wanting to spin around the CG of the shaft. All of a sudden, it was heelward, so that the toe wanted to close faster. Yeah. And then we put it neutral. We put it kind of dead back and then dead center of the back. And then if it was a fade bias, we'd put it out here towards the toe, so that toe was lagging behind, and just all of a sudden you could produce that type of shot. And then we were like, I remember having this conversation with Jeff Sheets one day, and we were like, man, it'd be cool if we just move this weight around. And it wasn't like 3 months later we saw the first movable weight driver, and we were like, oh yeah.
Just explain that, the movable weight driver.
So
Is that a question?
for yeah, sure, no problem. Great question again. And so a movable weight driver is, you've got 8, 10, 12 grams. The first ones were just, I think they were bore locations. I think it was probably the R5 or something like that.
Yeah.
And you had 4. You had 2 weights, and then it went to 4 weights.
Exactly right.
And then the game
8 or 12 to 2, right?
There was actually a 20 gram weight, so you go from 2 to 20, and so all of a sudden you start moving the heavy weight out here at the toe, and the center of gravity's out towards the toe, and you basically created your fade bias. So all of a sudden we didn't need to put that chunk of weight in there. We let the golfer do it themselves to figure out how to optimize it, which is still funny. We remember sitting in on a meeting, and one of the major OEMs told us that even with the adjustable weights, like 90-some% of the golfers never move the weights after they bought it.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh,
That's
man,
funny.
you bought.
That's a different.
It's like, and that was when,
like, I don't know what to do with this wrench and all this.
and that was with the movable weights and the adjustable hosel, right?
Yep.
So people were, you have unlimited. This thing can really be tuned in to fit your game, and then all of a sudden you're just like, man, you're not moving at all. You should have just bought something over there with no weights and just a standard hosel in it, because you just defeated the whole purpose, right?
Yep. So I got a question for you. Can you is there a way to take, say you have a heavy weight or low weight, whatever, you'd have to figure this out and make it shift in the club? Have they ever done that? Are they doing that?
There's patents on it, so you have to be careful.
Yeah,
golfers are funny.
I'm saying, like, if you swing the club and you're swinging in, and you got somebody like you want it, whatever one, you can slide that. This weight as you're coming in, whatever angle you're, you can slide back and it can turn the toe over.
You're talking about during the swing.
It cannot be moving during the swing. It has to be fixed during the swing.
Oh, it has to.
It cannot. Part of one of the rules is it can't. You can't have some free flowing part. I mean,
that would be really cool.
It'd be really cool. But it can't be done.
But that'd be illegal.
Yeah, part of the rules and regulations of golf, and I'll give you kind of a 30,000-foot overview of the rule, says, it has to be fixed, and it can't be fixed by, it has to be fixed by like a unique, like a wrench. Can't just be just like
fixated. Once it's locked, it can't be anything.
They don't want you out there adjusting the settings with a dime or a penny. So that's why you see like torque wrenches and unique hex heads and stuff like that, so that it gets around that rule.
So there's nothing that can move inside the head.
You can have it inside the head, but once you, let's just say there was a driver, I believe it was Tom Wishon.
Yeah, Tom
created a driver that had a plug in the bottom, and there was an arm that rotated inside the club, right? But he was able to lock it into a position inside the head. So that imagine that arm is rotating around, and I never hit it. But I know that he created it.
He knows his stuff.
Yeah, he was one of the pioneers in the club fitting industry.
No doubt, man.
And him and Jeff Sheets.
Was he a mechanical engineer as well?
I really don't know Tom's background. I know, he was at Golfsmith before Jeff Sheets, and I worked with Jeff. So I met Tom one time in Louisville, Kentucky, at the the club makers.
Was it GCC or something?
Yeah, I can't remember the name. Yeah. Oh gosh, I'll probably get like 50. You know what that is? The Club Makers Guild or something like that. I don't know what it was, but there are. So whatever you do as far as moving your weights around, that's like even on your current drivers, that have the sliding weights. Whether you slide it forward and move that CG forward to produce different ball spin rates, right? And I move it back, I'm getting a higher launch, right? a little more spin. Then I can move the other weight heel to toe, and that helps create my draw or fade buys. There's a little, you'll notice that you're going to have a torque wrench to lock those guys in. Once you snap them in place, take that little torque wrench, snap them in place, and that's legally and it's conforming. But if it's flying around moving, that's non-conforming,
Yeah. All right.
And the USGA, they've done a real good job to, sometimes we complain about the rules, right? But the fact of the matter is that they got a set of rules and everybody plays to it. And
doesn't matter what we like.
Since we're kind of on the top, that's one thing I wanted to ask you. As far as the club testing, obviously these clubs are mass produced. Mm-hmm. How far do these manufacturers push that, trying to push the limits? I know there's been here a few weeks ago, there was a controversy with I don't remember which tournament it was, but one of the pros drivers tested to be illegal.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So how far, do you think there's a lot of clubs that make it through that are illegal? That say they
are illegal?
Mm-hmm. Or say they're legal?
You know what? I think maybe for the average golfer, a few sneak through big box retail. Uh-huh. For the tour staff, I'm going to say it's really rare.
Okay.
Having worked with tour professionals and measured club heads for, sometimes we'd get a box of clubs and say, we need to know every spec on it. And we would measure loft, lie, weight, CT all around the face. And some of them wanted 9 different spots. And what's the CT at all 9 of these spots? We'd get that for them.
Yeah.
And I would say for the tour professional, that there's a line right here, and that tour equipment is towing right up to the edge of that line.
Uh-huh.
And because they don't want, if their CT is back here, let's just say it's like 230, right? And I think the limit is now 255 or something like that. If they're back here, they're giving, that face is thicker and it's not responsive enough, and they could give up 10, 15 yards.
Right.
And on the tour, with the way guys hit it now, you can't give up yardage.
Sure.
So everybody is towing that line, right? So you want to make sure that the equipment that tour players had was, a lot of them were tested, and occasionally one will slip through.
Right. Okay.
Hey, here's one of the heads that got through. For the average everyday big box retailer, my experience is, we were manufacturing heads for several brands, and even when we were in the factories in China, we would say, hey, we want you to CT test X number of heads that come off production line, just to make sure.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, let's just say it's every 10 or every 20, just depending on what the brand was and what their requirement was, right? Yeah. Because nobody wanted to wake up one morning and go, hey, by the way, all your new X drivers are now non-conforming,
right,
and you're recalling hundreds of millions of dollars of product. Nobody wants that. And so what you have to do is say, hey, test every 10 or 15 or 20, depending on who you are, and they test them just to make sure that.
That was a tour player though that.
It was just a few weeks ago. I can't think of who it was, but
is it Shoffley?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I think it was Shoffley.
It was.
Yeah,
and he was, that's not the fault of the player. The player doesn't know what happened,
and
and
they don't know. Hell, I can promise you.
You put a product in their hands, they can hit, and hell, they could hit it with a hockey stick and still beat me. So what do I know? Right?
They're a different breed. And there's no way a tour player knows he's got that guy. And that kid, he's got a great swing. Seemed like a real strong-minded kid.
Yeah.
Young man now, but and love the way he plays. But he didn't know.
No,
it's not his job to know.
No,
and
I
don't know. I didn't even really know how that went about, the testing on that and how much they do it. There's drug testing on the tour too. That's a whole different
and they test equipment. It's random
every time they play. Yeah.
Now, you'll have to forgive me for not knowing the full answer on this, but are they testing at every tournament? I don't know.
Yeah,
I would think so, but they might only be testing every 2 or 3 events. Yeah, it's random,
right?
It's random as far as I know, but that'd be a great question. We have to Google search.
I remember when that was
happening.
Same
thing with the drug testing. They test. From now, it may have changed, but when I was out there coaching, it was every round. If you were out there in the tournament, it was a random, just a pick. Your name gets pulled up, you go.
Man,
there you go.
Yeah, and golf's been pretty good about that. There's been a few instances where guys have been caught for PEDs or non-PED enjoyment, narcotics
they've been caught for.
Yeah. And there's probably some people that have gotten through, right? And so
they might have slipped through the cracks there.
And I'm sure there's equipment that has slipped through the cracks. But I think what most players notice, and most players aren't going to say something. if we were all playing with each other consistently, and let's just have this fantasy we're all playing on tour, right? If I come out with a brand new driver and I start pumping it 20 yards past you, you might start like, hey, what's in that driver? You might raise that question.
Oh, for sure.
Right?
Right.
And
what kind of cork you got in
there? Yeah.
Like the bat, ball bats?
What are you doing here? And is it the shaft? No, it's the same shaft. And then you go, you may well go take that over to the trailer and get that tested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think for the most part, the equipment is very good and they know what's going into the tour players' bags.
Right.
Okay. I'm sure, there's tour departments at every OEM, so they
Yeah.
know what's going out there.
Yeah,
Occasionally one slips through.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk. We talked about the technology a lot, but let's talk about the importance of club fitting for individuals. We've touched on a little bit in previous episodes. You're going to know, both of you know a lot more than I do about it. So I'd love to get your take on just the importance of that and just kind of where you stand.
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. And Matt and I share both the same passion on this. Is that if you're playing the wrong equipment, I don't care how good you are, it's not helping you, and you're playing worse.
Right.
You're adding stress and pain and agony to your life, right? And as a club fitter, I've always enjoyed fitting, and over the years, kind of my philosophies have changed as technologies have changed. And you've learned things, and you move and you groove. You kind of like, I used to think, I had to fit the driver first. Yeah. At this point in my career, I try and fit putters first. Yeah. And that some may say that no, you got to fit driver first. I just look at it as if I've got a round of golf, and if I follow the scorecard, I'm supposed to hit all 18 or 14 out of 14 fairways because I got 4 par 3s. I'm supposed to hit all 14 fairways. And so I hit all 14 fairways, I hit all 14 greens, and I'm supposed to take 32 putts per hole. That's 36, right? And people come to me and they go, hey, Dave, I'm really struggling with my game. And I was like, all right, well, what's going on? I want to hit it 30 yards further. And when somebody tells me they want to hit it 30 yards further, I tell them just move up a tee.
Right.
It's insulting, but it's the reality of it, right? But move up a tee. And enjoy the game a little bit. And I'm guilty of it too. My ego, and I don't know whether maybe it's because of testosterone or what. I used to play those back tees, and I was like, I'll be damned if I'm going to move off of them.
Oh, yeah.
And now I'm moved on up, and I enjoy golf. And
like the blade thing.
I played the blades and the hardest thing I could get to hit, right?
Yeah.
And, but, as a fitter, now I look at the importance of fitting a putter first. And I feel like, if I can get you from 36 putts to 29 putts by fitting you into the right head type based on your stroke type, the right length, and all the variables that go into fitting, like maybe it's adjustable weight, maybe we need to adjust this, the hosel type, everything. If I can get you into the correct putter and all of a sudden you take 29 putts, well, I just saved you 7 shots, right? So now you went from shooting 95 and now you're down to 88. Right? So now all of a sudden you're like, hey, I'm consistently breaking 90. Well, that guy knew what he was doing with my putter. He's going to trust me with his wedges. He's going to trust me with his driver, and we're going to trust me with fitting the rest of the irons in the bag.
Right.
So that's kind of my philosophy. And technology has, if you go to a big box retailer, I walk in, there's a putting green. I see 13 launch monitors and simulators. I don't see anybody on that putting green. And to me, I just go, man, there's an opportunity to make a lot of golfers a heck of a lot happier. Yeah. This might be controversial. I don't mean to it, but I think people not being properly fit into putters, the next thing you know, they start to come up with gimmicks or not really gimmicks. That's not the right word. But they come up with trying to find different ways to putt. Yeah. The next thing you know, you got a putter the size of a oak tree, or as a grip. Next thing you know, you're locking it to your chin. Next thing you're locking it to your forearm. Let's get you fit in the right putter. Yeah. Let's start from there at the right length, and let's go from there. And I think that, that's just the way I do it. And, and then, working with drivers, things like TrackMan, Flight Scope have dramatically changed the game.
Sure.
I can look at things like, I remember I did a fitting one time at Golfsmith, and at the driving range, there was a flag about 100 yards out. And this guy had come over from Lake Cliff. So you remember that?
No,
Lake Logan? I think you were teaching there.
Yeah, I remember there.
So this gentleman, and I won't call his name out because he might be watching somehow, some way, right?
No, tell his name.
No. I try to be very cautious.
I probably know him.
So he had a driver, and he had, I don't know whether it was you or someone else had told him to come over and see us to get a fitting. So, all right, so I'm setting up the launch monitor, and I'm watching this guy. I told, introduced him, and I said, you go ahead and warm up, and I'm going to put the launch monitor behind you. And I would always act like I'm going to go to the bathroom, but I was actually standing through the windows looking through the golf. I could see him, right?
Right.
And what I was trying to do is get them used to being in front of that launch monitor, because you put people in front of the launch monitor, all of a sudden they think they got to rip it off the screen, because nobody swings. Nobody hits 5-iron less than 210 yards, right?
Right.
And everybody's driver goes 335, right? I get all that.
Okay.
So then, you go, okay. So then I was watching this guy, and Matt will remember at Golfsmith over on the left side of the range, the first green was 97 yards.
Yes, I do.
And this guy was hitting a driver, and it was going underneath the bottom of that green flag and that green, every one. And it was going about 110 yards, and it was on the ground. I'm like, oh, my goodness. So I had a bag full of drivers, and we would always cover the loft so they didn't know what loft they were hitting. Yeah. And we would always cover the shaft so they didn't know what shaft.
I used to put tape on it. Yeah, I was the same way.
And so I go over, and this guy's like 78 years old. Hopefully he's still alive, And I looked at his club and started doing the interview process, and I was like, "Hey man, where's this driver come from?" And he goes, "Oh man, I bought it on eBay, and I know it's the right club, man, because I know it is, but I can't hit it right now." And I look at that thing, and so for those of you out there wondering, there's different shaft flexes. There's A for like your most flexible, and I always called that the amateur.
Yeah.
And then there's R for regular flex, stiff flex, X flex, and then it goes 1X, 2X, 3X, 4X. Like your Remax guys, those are getting like 6, 7, 8X shaft, whatever.
By the time they tip it down.
Yeah, it's a piece of rebar.
Yeah.
But over here, this thing's real flippy, like a Shimano fishing rod, right? And so this guy was swinging this club. It was a 3X speeder Fujikura shaft and a 7.5 degrees of loft on this driver, and I'm like, oh.
You said he was 78?
Yep. He had about 63 mile an hour club head speed.
Yep.
And I went, oh no. And so I started the fitting process, and the first thing I did when I fit drivers, I'd use impact tape to kind of start toning in where the correct length was, right? And that impact tells me whether the club is too long, too short. So I got him in the right length. And then we started tinkering with loft, and I got him into a driver. His driver, he hit 5 shots, and I think his average carry was like 111 yards. Mm-hmm. So I get him into the correct shaft, the correct length, and the correct loft, and he's hitting it almost 215, right? Yeah. Just a crazy scenario. It never works that way normally, right? No, you get somebody 10 yards. I know what you mean. 10 yards is normal. But this guy was hitting almost topped shots, right? Sure. And there was no shaft, no energy going into the ball, nothing, right? And I just remember that thing like, oh my gosh. And he was like, oh, this is awesome. And I said, okay. So and then he's fired up, man. He's hitting it pretty straight. And he came in there looking for a couple yards, and we got him a ton, right? And so I was over there, and I made the mistake of leaving that club out, and he pulled the tape off the bottom of it and saw that it was a 13.5 degree driver. Yep. And he goes, I can't play this. And I was like, why? And he goes, because my buddies will laugh at me. 13.5 is made for women. And I said, oh, man. I said, well, just take this demo and go with you and let me know what you think, right? Yeah. And he goes, I can't. They'll laugh at me. And he goes, I can't take it. And I said, you take it and just play it for free. And he goes, I can't. I said, well, let me ask you this. Which is most important for you? I know the course that you got, and you've got a couple forced carries out there. So let me ask you this. Is your third shot from around the green, or do you want your third shot from being on the tee box? Because the driver you've got is going to give you the third shot of the day is still going to be on the tee box, because you're never going to carry it over the. Even if you move up to the very forward tee, you don't have enough carry distance to get over. This is going to allow you to do it. And so, technology, things like flight scope and where I'm going with that, just help us quantify what's happening. It allows us to look at how the head's moving through impact. It allows us to analyze whether the shaft is loading or recoiling, how much energy is being transferred. Yeah. Just amazing technology. And it's changed the game. It's changed the way that people fit drivers, for sure.
Yeah, I tell you the one thing about TrackMan and Foresight, and this is my opinion on it too, and I have a different opinion on yours, but we all can agree to disagree, but I like to fit the driver first because, I teach all the time, so if I got a guy here, my whole theory is I'll give you 0 putts for the day, and if you get in somebody's backyard all day, you can't even play, you're not even finish the round. So you better find something that's going to get. So that's a teaching and club fitting thing.
Absolutely.
Like you got to get them down. You got to get them down the road somewhere.
Yeah.
And then you got to get them up there and even if it'll take the soul away from you. It takes your spirit away from you. You get up there and you hack it around. You're 10 shots onto the green.
Yeah.
They don't even want to putt.
Yeah.
I guarantee an adult doesn't. Kid would. Kid doesn't care, but an adult. They're like, I'm defeated. And 18 times of that, they're out. So I'll go the other way. I go like fitting the driver, teaching the driver, even though we got our system to get them up to that. But then it's like wedges and putter are a tie. So I was like, because I believe driver, wedges, and putters are all your scoring clubs.
Amen.
And everybody wants to go. The industry wants you to buy a set of irons because they make more per club, and it's a set of irons. You don't buy a set of drivers and this and that. You buy, so. But a set of irons is like the industry's always marketed for that. Like you come in and get a set of irons, but driver's always been kind of a specialty thing. Well, it should be because it is, and so is a putter, and so is the wedges. You could look at them as all at a time, just bundle them up and say they're all just equally as important, in my opinion. Yeah. But with TrackMan though, the way and Foresight or any of these launch monitors. Because there's different ground conditions, so their spin rates are going to come off different. So you got to look at what you're doing. So with a driver, it's on a tee. There's no different ground conditions. It's very, very little difference between tees, even though some are. Jesse's got some good tees in his bag. Our buddy.
Yeah, that's one
of
my
funny.
Good buddies dumped a whole handful of specialty tees in my
nice.
bag. Yeah, so I'm that guy now.
Put the zero friction or something. He's like, what are these tees, man?
Yeah.
So, but there's really no difference in a tee, and how high you tee it and all it is, and all that stuff. But so when it's a true, you're really getting a true launch, and it's. If I put you in West Texas over here in Amarillo and I put you in Alabama, we had iron shots off of the ground. It's going to come out different.
It will, 100%.
You know that.
I agree with you 100%.
The turf interaction and all that, and the spin rates and the trajectories are going to be different. It's going to come out higher off softer. It's going to come out harder off lower. When a harder condition is going to come out lower, your spin rates are going to be different. Everything's going to look a little bit different. And you got to find what you need for that area and what you like, what you want to do.
And I think you and I agree on this. Is that I like to start with the putter, but to your point, 100%. In the interview process, you determine, okay, I like to have people bring me 3 scorecards to understand the fitting. And if I look at it and say, how many? You had 14 tee shots, and most of us hit the driver about 8, 9, 10 times, right?
That's right.
Some of the higher handicappers hit that sucker 14 times, and they've hit 6 balls out of play. And then you go, okay, I might want to start you with the putter, but to your point, I agree with you 100%. Right. If you can't get it in play, Lord only knows helping you with the putter ain't going to help you. Yeah. I agree with you 100%. And I think that's where the understanding the player and understanding what the real need is. But if I had my druthers, I always think, okay, that's there. But to your point, that's a very valid point, and I think it's 100% worth noting.
They're all the same at the end of the day. It's all relative. We're both saying the same thing. It's all relative to one player. Yeah.
Yep.
Not the whole mass. And when you get on tour, it's the opposite. We kind of bypass because they've really got kind of all these things, and it's really iron dispersion. Iron dispersion has been proven that 15 to 25 feet with the putter.
Right. Yeah. Sure. And you have to, as a fitter, you have to be brand agnostic. You have to say, you might like Cleveland. You might like Strixon or Callaway, but you have to figure out that all that goes out the window. What is the best for this golfer right here?
Yeah, no doubt about it.
And each company makes amazing equipment that fits just about every golfer.
No doubt about it.
But for me, I don't really care the brand that you play. Do you play better with this one? Okay. Go play that one.
That's what I say too, man. Like
I don't care.
I tell you, listening to what both of you guys have said from my standpoint, just listening, I think one thing that's a common theme that's come up a lot is golfers are stubborn and they're reluctant to change. So we brought it up talking about the spikes, talking about the top line of the club, the one club link.
Yeah,
I'm as guilty as anybody. Once I've done something a certain way, and somebody wants to bring
like
new technology.
Man.
If it don't look good, I don't even want to try it, and that's stupid. That's what I think that would be just from listening to what you're saying. My advice would be talk to a professional with a clear head. Yeah. Don't walk in one-minded thinking, well, I don't care what he says, I don't like it. I'd rather shoot a lower score and hit better shots.
But Matt's run into this, and I have too, is that people walk into your fitting and they go, like, I'm not going to play but one brand, so don't bring the other bags out.
Right.
Or
I've done it.
What's always concerning to me is when a parent brings a kid in and says, don't bring any other bags out. And then I'm like, oh, man.
Yeah.
Got that.
This is going to be a long couple hours.
Yeah, it is, and you're big. It's hard for people, with a fitter. My old goal. I'm not into it anymore, really, but I still am fascinated by it. But when I was into it, I had a really big toolbox, and I always said, the one that has the best toolbox is probably going to win the game.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
And and it would be that way if you could have all the things they wanted to hit. Of course, when you're a golfer, you could give them anything you wanted them to hit. And but it's weird, and I think a club fit, what I've learned, and this is not 100% either, but it's really up there close, is like once you get fit and you're going through a sound fitting with a professional that knows what they're doing, you could come back a month later, not buy anything that day, come back a month later in the blind and go through everything, cover up all the clubs, run through it again, it'll be the same exact fit.
Yes, sir.
And it'll be that way next year.
Yeah.
It rarely changes. I mean, you can change your swing, you can change whatever you want to do. You do whatever you need to do. It's still, I don't know why it does that, but it does that.
That's right.
And so,
and we were talking before we started filming and recording here. It's like things change too, right? We were talking about just changing shoe type, right? So you got one thin sole shoe, and maybe you're a quarter inch off the ground. Now you get this other pair of shoes, and you're 3/8 of a height difference. And why am I suddenly thinning this ball, or why? Maybe I went the other way. Why am I catching everything fat? Well, we custom fit you to this. Now suddenly your club is a 1/2 inch difference, one direction or the other. So all those things matter. Like my eyes are not as good as they used to be, right? And I think one day I'm going to have bifocals. And I had a good friend, John Matheson, did an amazing study at Golfsmith on how bifocals and trifocals and regular glasses affect people in their depth perception. And all of a sudden you're picking up different things depending on where you're looking in the glasses, like up here, and all of a sudden it just messes with people, right? And all those things matter. And as a fitter, and even as a teaching professional, you have to be mindful of all these things that happen.
Yes, you
right?
do.
But you're right. A good fitting, you cover the name and brand up on everything, and that they should come back to the exact same product.
I bet.
Very rarely will it move off to that.
Yep.
But golfers are funny things. Getting them to move on drivers is crazy. Like we still sell 9.5 degree drivers for some reason.
Yeah.
I think the average loft on tour is 10 3/4 almost, something like that.
Yeah, it's going up and more. I think Dustin Johnson, I said, was up around close to 12 now. I remember when was.
I mean, how many
that's
of it,
crazy.
How many of us are buying 9.5 degree drivers because we think, when it lands, it's going to roll further.
Yeah, 7.5.
But that's where the things like, to your point, the TrackMan, we can now optimize launch conditions. We can optimize the vertical height of the shot, but we can also optimize the
roll,
the descent of the ball.
Yeah, descent of the roll. Right?
And we look at that shot shape, and then this all comes back typically to angle of attack, right?
Oh, no doubt.
Is my driver hitting on a descending or an ascending angle of attack? Yeah. And that's such a huge difference, and you can see, just by, moving the ball sometimes back or a little spinal tilt, all of a sudden, a little spinal tilt, ball back inside, and maybe the hands aren't forward pressed. All of a sudden, the hands are back in a neutral position, and all of a sudden, the ball takes off, and you're like, oh, gosh. That's exactly what it's supposed to do.
Yep.
But, and a point is, your fitter shouldn't be given lessons.
No, that's
it's dangerous, right?
Yeah, that's right. When you fit, you fit. I always, because I was kind of caught in a trap because I was like, I'm not. If you want to come and take a look, or you want to get fit, I'm not going to teach you and get fit. And if you're not good enough to be fit, guess what? You're going to have to come back. You're going to have to do lessons or not, or just do somebody else. Yeah, because it's going to be one or the other. Like, you need to be good at, because if you're coming over and you're side slapping the ball all over the yard, it's not you can't. Nobody in the world can fit. Yeah, and nobody.
I remember seeing people come in for fittings, and they'd have golf ball marks all over the crown, and I'd be like, all right, take one swing, and you'd see their hands are so forward pressed that they can't take the club back. They just go straight up, and the driver comes down. Bang. If this is the leading edge of the driver, it's coming down. It's a super steep descending angle of attack, and all of a sudden the crown's getting there before the face is. And then you go, well, why did I hit it in the crown? All right.
Yeah.
You need to go see Matt and get a lesson.
Yeah.
And get
You know, one thing I have on, everybody wants to lower spin high launch. Now, I'll give one tip today, and it's going to be real simple. And I thought I had a video on it. I kind of have a video on it that I released the other day, but it's about landing an airplane. So if you don't want to land if you're coming in, and this is your impact right here, you don't want your airplane coming in like this. Wham! I don't think most people do. You don't want your airplane coming in and going like this either. You want your airplane to come in really wide and low, and really wide and out the other way.
I agree with that.
And you don't want a lot of craziness going on, steering wheel stuff through there either.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to get your spin rates down, which most people do, especially if you're a really good player, listen to what I just said. When you come in, you want to come in at a really wide, low angle, and you want to come out the other side the same exact way and go out this way without a lot of chaos. But you come in like this, or you come in like this, or you come in slapping this way, or dragging on it like that, you're going to probably have some issues. So that'll help you if you, and that's a big deal for spin rates, because you better the players, you know, they usually get these spin rates. They're like, what do you mean I'm 3,500 and I've got a X amount of launch? It doesn't matter. The launch at that point really, or 4,000, and they're good. They're like, they can play.
Yeah.
And they're like, how do I get to that tour level where it's 25, 24, 26, 27, and it's how that you want? I just gave it to you right there. Don't come crashing down on that thing, because you can start beating down on it and get away with it, and you really just need more of this action.
Yeah.
You know what? This hitting up on it. There's a lot of people that talk about with track. You don't hit up on it. You don't have to do that. You just come in level like that. You come out level. You're gonna be fine. I promise you.
Kind of go back real quick on, we were talking about maybe you're hitting it all over the place and you go get fitted. You need to get that lesson first. Not such a big deal here in Texas, but in Missouri we just came from, you may go 4 or 5 months over the winter where you can't swing a club. The golf course is under ice. Your club's been in a closet. I've seen so many guys when I was there. Well, before I even play golf this year, I'm going to get fitted. We haven't taken a golf swing in 5 months, and the first swing you're taking is with a machine. Take a couple weeks. Kind of get your swing.
I agree with that.
You know, if you haven't played in a week, it takes a couple swings to get used. If you haven't played in 4 or 5 months, it's going to take a few sessions to get your swing back where it was.
Yeah.
So get your swing where it's really going to be before you go get fitted for that swing.
I agree with that 100%. You know what? I don't play as much as I used to. And for years, I was I was better in my head than I actually was on my scorecard. So
You play though. I mean,
I used to be able to golf pretty good, and then you know I kept struggling with lessons. Right, I knew my equipment was fit right. I designed it right. It had to be right. So you know, I had tinkered and figured out what was perfect for my golf equipment. And I'll never forget this day. I was working with one guy for about a year, and he was trying to get the club over here to a different position. I was like, my body just doesn't get the club over there. And it was frustrating to me because I kept hearing something on my backswing, and I'm like, no, this is not having to do with my backswing. And finally I went and saw Matt when you were over at Falcon Head. Matt taught me some drills, like one leg in front, one in the back, about posting up on that left side. And all of a sudden, clack, clack, clack. Where I'm going with that is, for those customers that don't play a lot, you get those tips and tricks. And Matt gave me like 3 drills that day. And so this year I had taken a couple months off just at work and whatnot. And I had to go out to Salt Lake City and we were going to play some golf. And I was just in my living room. I started practicing those drills and went out there to Salt Lake City and flushed it. And I'm like, okay, get those drills. Find an instructor that's going to work with you. And that's what I appreciated about Matt. And that's what, kind of changed. And just, I already had a tremendous amount of respect for Matt. And then, he helped me out because he wasn't looking at what was going on back here. He's like, hey, let's fix what's going on right here, Dave. Right. You're swinging it. Your backswing's, everybody's backswing's a little unique. Lord, look at Jim Furyk versus Tiger versus, right? And Matt's like, we got to get you to hit that ball right here. And he gave me a couple of drills, and all of a sudden my impact took off. And then all of a sudden I started to see some of my mishits, short or long, a little right, a little left. All of a sudden they just started tightening in. And I was like, okay, now I can compress the golf ball. So maybe, work with your instructor and figure out 2 or 3 drills that you can do in your living room, Because I'll never forget that day. So I was lucky. So
I think
hold on just 1 second. It's that way now.
What's up?
Let's get this out way real quick.
Okay.
What's that going to cost me there?
what's that?
I'm messing with you, man.
Afterwards.
I'll pay you later. I got this. What got you?
No, we're good. We're good, man.
No,
We're talking about those drills you haven't played in a while, or maybe what I was saying about in the wintertime. We talked last week about fitness. That's in wintertime, if the course is unplayable, it's a good time to work on fitness and work on getting your game better in that direction. One thing we haven't talked about is you do Ironman competitions. You take,
Yeah.
I mean, that's fitness to me. That's fitness to the extreme.
Yeah.
So give us a little bit of background as far as
man.
what you've done with the Ironmans and other things.
So, my first triathlon, a friend of mine, Chris Woolery, got me into it, and I thought I'd kill him the day of the triathlon. It was probably 2 weeks before there was a triathlon in Austin, and I had no bike. I never really swam anywhere other than in my dad's pond or creeks, stuff like that, ocean here and there. And he calls and says, I'm going to be in town. You should do this triathlon with me. I said, I don't even have a bike. He goes, just go down to the academy or somewhere and get you a bike. I bought like a mountain bike. I had no idea, right? I get down there to race day. Everybody's got on wetsuits, and I got on like a pair of Oakley board shorts. I'm like, oh no. And so I thought I was going to drown in the swim like 10 times. I wanted to quit, right? Because I'd never swam 700 meters, right?
Okay.
More or less 25 yards, right? And then all of a sudden I'm trying to swim half a mile or close to half a mile. I'm like, oh, Lord, I thought I was going to drown. And I got out of the water, and here I am on my bike, and all these people are flying by me. I'm on a mountain bike. I'm sitting up like this, and these guys are going by on these long aerodynamic full carbon bikes, and I got this steel frame monster with a wheel about as wide as my hips. You know, I'm not going nowhere. And I was like, you know what? I remember saying, I rode up towards the Capitol because it's downtown Austin.
Oh, yeah.
And I was coming down, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to finish this race, but this is it for me. And then I got off the bike, and I started to run, and my legs were alive. I'm like, oh, man, I've always been blessed with speed and the ability to run.
Yeah.
And then it started there. I started passing people, and all of a sudden the adrenaline started to kick in. And all of a sudden I said, you know what, I like this. And then it became a lifestyle. You know? And then 2010, I did my first Ironman Coeur d'Alene, and my friend Josh Busby, his wife calls me Josh's triathlon wife because we train so much together. And we did that day, and it was amazing. My daughter had been born just a couple of weeks before, and I was tired, and I went out there, and I'll never forget the experience. A lot of things happened, almost life-changing, right? And I'll never forget that when we talked about this before I came on here, and this applies to everything you do in life, is what's your why? You know, there's my friend Matt Harmatuck came up to me and said, hey, you're going to get punched in the mouth, and he's a SWAT guy. And I was like, oh, Lord, I don't want this guy hitting me in the mouth. And he was like, when Iron Man's going to punch you in the mouth, how are you going to respond? And I was like, what is he talking about? And then he kind of told me what he was talking about. And that why applies to even as a designer, right? Like, I can put a fillet or I can soften the edge on there, and I can design anything in CAD. But if I can't machine it, and it's non-functional, it didn't do me any good. So what's my why? Understand your why applies to everything that we do in life, right? Mm-hmm. Like, as a father, why am I doing this with my daughter, right? What are the steps? And so it was one of those things that came into play because sure enough, as the race went on, there was moments in the run where I was like, I don't want to be here anymore. And I would have to dig deep, and I'd learn, like, this is why I'm running,
The why factor.
The why factor. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, you don't want to run anymore. You're tired. You've been out there for 8-9 hours. You just spent 3,000-4,000 calories, right? You've taken in 500-600. Your body's depleted. What moves you? What's your why? And it changes a little bit different for each race. And so I've carried that with me every race. And he got that from a book called I'm Here to Win. And the guy that wrote the book isn't the most personable and not somebody you want to role model your life as, but there's a couple key things in there.
That's right.
I'm here to win. It was the philosophy, and what's your why were the two things I took out of there. And this guy goes to a race, and he always thinks, I'm going to win. And I was like, oh, man, that's pretty amazing. And so fitness has become a huge part of my life. And I decided that last year that I wanted to try and qualify for the Boston Marathon. And I tried 2 times before, and due to injury, it didn't work out. And this past year, everything worked out. And I remember my why was I wanted to show my daughter, my emotions sometimes get up, sorry.
No, you go with it. We talked about it earlier. I know what you're talking about.
I wanted to show her that hard work mattered, right?
Yeah.
And that if you work hard, you can hold your head up, whether you're successful by anybody else's standards or your standards, whatever it was, right? Whether I made it to Boston or not, I put the work in, and my daughter saw me achieve something amazing. And that day, last year, everything went right. It was lucky, right? Some days you go out there and you have lower GI, your legs cramp, whatever, right? But everything went right, and I qualified for Boston. And, the other day I was talking to my daughter about going to make it to Boston. But the world's premier marathon.
Right.
And she was like, you know what, Dad? I'm so proud of you. And I was like, oh, man.
Now you're really going to get emotional.
Oh, damn. Tissue box, right? But, and it's not what this is supposed to be about. But I just believe that, fitness.
Whatever we want it to be.
Fitness, your why could be, I want to show off in front of my girlfriend. Or I want to show off in front of my wife. I want to show off in front of I want to prove something to my father, maybe. It could be that simple, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or I want to show something to people at work, right? So, for me, triathlon and running are a release. And it allows me to stay, in good shape. It's something I love to do. I enjoy it. It's been life-altering on so many levels. And, I enjoy the heck out of it. And, it's hard to think back sometimes that you did 140.6 miles in one day. You swim 2.4, bike 112, and then run a full marathon, right?
Yeah,
And
I don't think most people really got that. Do that.
Yeah.
Say that one
So it's
more time.
140.6 miles all in one day. So you swim 2.4 miles, get out of the water, change your clothes, and go ride your bike 112. Go change your clothes or not change your clothes, whatever you want to do.
Wow.
Jump in and run a full marathon, 26.2. And you got 17 hours to finish to get your Ironman finisher medallion. After 17 hours, you finished, but you're not considered a finisher.
Yeah.
You don't get the finisher medallion.
I've got a buddy that he did one in Florida about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and kind of put that in perspective. At 7:30 that morning, they have a little app where you can trace him and you can watch him go where he's at on the map. And I got an update that he had started the race. He started the swim. Of course, that was as I was getting to work. I worked, went to lunch, came back, worked, went home, went to the gym, cooked, had dinner, and then I get an update that he's still in a marathon. I couldn't comprehend. That guy started at 7:30 that morning, and he's still going. And at that point, he still had 8 miles to run. I ran 8 miles in 6 months.
It's amazing. And if you really want to see something amazing, and you're ever in an area where an Ironman is happening, and right about you start at like 7 a.m. and at midnight's the shut off. So at about 11 o'clock, everybody that's already finished that day, professionals, amateurs, age groupers, what they call, everybody starts to come back. Because they know between 11 and 12 o'clock, those are the souls that have been out there almost 17 hours.
Wow.
You think about that.
No, I
That's
can't.
incredible.
You see people say to me, Dave, I could never do an Ironman. And I'll say you can.
Yeah.
I believe you
That's
can.
what he
You see
said.
all type of body types. I see senior citizens finishing. And as it gets closer to midnight, there's thousands of people lining maybe the last mile or so. And it's just people screaming, run. And people that are just completely gassed out. They have given everything they have. They hear that roar. And all of a sudden, man, those legs start to move a little bit. And then they start to see that finish line. And then you got 3,000 people finishing. You see the finish line. You see the numbers. And all of a sudden, they start to move.
It'll give you chills.
And they start to rock and roll. And the next thing you know, they're done. And it's like, it's an amazing experience. One of the most amazing experiences you'll
There's
ever
nothing
experience.
I can think of to compare that to.
Yeah, and
not to that extreme fatigue and then get picked back up.
Now, I'll tell you,
Wow.
that is the high of highs, right? On that day, outside of finishing.
Right.
And so then, the time cuts off and it's 17 hours is finished and the last person's, some people get across there with just seconds to spare, right? And then you're all partying and everybody's celebrating. And then here comes some runner that's gonna miss it. And you're just like, that would be the lowest of love. But you know what? To me,
finished, man.
you finished.
That.
You finished it. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah, that's
incredible.
You're dedicated, your fitness, you're dedicated to your career, you're dedicated to your job. Matt and I have talked about this combination. He knows his why, right? I know what my why is.
Yep.
I've been blessed. My wife allows me, but she's just an amazing woman that's been there and said, hey, if you're going to do this, I got your back 100%, and it's good to have a support system. And she's just said, hey, we'll be there for you at the finish line. And, to have them at the finish line at Austin and knowing they're going to be there at Boston, it's all worth it, man.
I know we talked about this before, but I still don't get enough of it. But I think that when we were at the WGC, we talked about it that event in Austin. Actually,
Yeah.
Jesse was there too that day.
Yeah. Okay.
And but we were talking, and your buddy, I think Chris, is it Chris, the one that goes with you for the Ironman?
Oh, that was.
I forget who it was. He was an
Oh man.
But you guys were talking about the training. I was like, how do you train?
Steve.
Like,
Steve. Yeah.
All right. So it was like what time do you start training? And then because I know you got you work. It's not like you're and you're going and grinding for your family and all that. Then you're getting up at these weird crazy hours, getting after it. Then on Saturdays and Sundays or Saturdays, I can't.
Yeah.
Remember you said Saturdays is the day you grind.
Yeah, you're grinding.
But pretty much every day it sounds like.
So as you get towards Ironman, you got about 2 or 3 weeks where you're cutting way back, tapering. But in the peak of it, maybe the month before that, the 6 weeks before that, you might have a swim in the morning, like say Monday morning's a swim.
Yep.
And you might do a light run in the evening. Tuesday morning's a run. And you might hop on your bike for just a little bit in the evening, maybe an hour. But your morning runs might be something like running hills or running interval for an hour, right?
Okay.
And then Wednesday morning, you might do another swim. And then that night, you do a competitive brick workout with your team or something like that.
Okay.
Right? And then Thursday morning is, again, you're back at a run. And then Thursday night, you might be just too exhausted, right? But try and get something in. And then Friday, I would typically take off. And then Saturday, you're up and you might do a 6-hour bike ride and then run for 45 minutes to an hour off of it.
Wow.
And in Austin with the heat, it wears you out. And then Sunday, you get up and my friend Josh and I, what we would do is we'd get up and we'd go down and swim Barton Creek.
Yeah,
nice cold water.
Yeah.
And we'd go down there and swim 2.5 miles, and then we'd go run 20 miles, and then afterwards jump back in that cold water for, kind of like an ice bath and reduce inflammation.
Yeah, heal up a little bit.
Wow. Just so we can go do it all again, and then, the moment you finish Ironman, it's magical. I put it up there. There's several moments in my life. There's the day of my faith, right? My profession of faith. That's the most important day of my life. Second most important day of my life is my wedding day. Third is my daughter. Not that she's third on anything, but seeing the birth of my daughter was there. But 4 was finishing Ironman.
So you told me that before, that's pretty cool.
I'll never forget that. This is amazing. So, take time and get, to answer your question. I know we kind of went on chase a squirrel, but, fitness is important. Get in your local gym, and, flexibility is huge. Take a yoga class, for goodness sakes.
Yeah.
Oh, man, make a huge difference. Get stronger. I see so many people, and I'm guilty of it. I got a little belly fat, strengthen your core, Some people can't run. I love to run. Run's my outlet. Maybe you can't run. Go do some sit-ups or something.
Anything's better than nothing. We talked about that before we got on. Just do something. Even if somebody says, you can't do that. You can.
Yeah, and just be consistent with it. You can.
Yeah, and Jesse, that's one thing. He goes, obviously. He goes to the
he's
gym
a lifter.
He goes, it's discipline, man. He shows up and does it, man.
Yeah.
Goes after
It's probably the same way. You get to a point where you feel like I'm sure if you don't do anything for a week or two, if you ever do that, you feel like you're not doing what you're supposed to do. You got a void that you feel like you're doing something wrong almost.
Yeah.
Well,
cool, guys.
Yeah. Well, man, I think we
did
had
it
a
all.
heck of a show.
I think we did it. Those dogs, man.
Yeah. And again, guys, we are encouraging and welcome any feedback. We've gotten some really positive feedback the last couple of weeks. I think with everything you've done, I can sit and listen to you talk about those stories all day. So any feedback you have, any questions, anything you want us to talk about, we really need you guys to get involved. So we really appreciate that. And David, I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
It was great, man.
Great to meet you.
Yeah, it was awesome, man.
Always good to see you, brother.
Yeah, always, man. Always.
All right, guys. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time on the Elite Golf Podcast.
Thanks.
That's a wrap.